Hi, this is Dr. Mark Sehl for the YouTube channel Therapy for the Heart. It's good to be here today. It's Tuesday with Mark, a little late. So the subject I'm going to talk about is the relationship between suicide, shame, and loneliness, and in respect to our youth and our children, because they're primarily affected by this at such a young age. So there's been an alarming increase in why I wanted to talk about it today was it's imminent and urgent is because of the death of Kate Spade, who, as you know, by now hung herself, and she had a fixation on Robert Williams in terms of his death by suicide, and that's very, very, very important because many people think, well, if they killed themselves with all they had, like Kate Spade and others, how can that be? Well, it can be because it has no relationship between what you can't be protected by your wealth, you can't be protected by the house you own, you can't be protected by status. That doesn't protect you. So this is going to be alarming for some of those people who are listening and think that they can escape if just by external things. It's an internal job with your self-confidence and your good feeling about yourself. So big increase, 56%, and before that there was a decline in suicide. Suicide ideation and parasuicide increases with a degree of loneliness. So there's a connection between those two. Parasuicide is those probably overdoses and gestures about suicide. Big increase, direct relationship with loneliness. Shame is a more dominant factor among young people now. With the site culturetest.com, they said the title was a recent publication, Ascent of Shame. So as we all know, shame was more known in terms of the Eastern cultures and countries, but now it's of the West too. So that's a cultural phenomena that's taking on right now and has been for a while. So young people have the highest rates of loneliness. Beds for children in clinics have an increasingly influx of those young people who have suffering from depression, from suicide ideation, and also from suicidal attempts. But they don't have beds for these young people. There's no room. And not only is there no room, but because they don't have services for follow-up, for treatment. So in those podcasts, March 20th and March 13th, I did address youth at risk and what about the children? What about the children? They're our future. This is so important for all our children to be protective of them and take care of them and not shame them and ridicule them or keep the stress from the family away from them as much as possible. Talk to them, listen to them. Listening to them makes them feel understood, and to feel understood is a wonderful feeling. And often, I just read somewhere that most people don't feel understood. And it was along with the statistic how many people feel lonely and how many people don't have a friend to talk to. Don't have a friend. A high number do not have a friend. So the loneliness aspect of this variable is very important. There's no reason to be alone, but there are many reasons to be alone because you're safer alone. You feel more protected because you're not going to be humiliated or not going to say the wrong thing. You don't feel you fit in. So many people don't feel they fit in. They don't belong. So they're alone. They keep themselves alone. And it isn't intentional, but it is to the extent of protection. The quote that I often say, and I'm going to say it again, it's joy to be hidden and disaster not to be found. So it's good to hide, but particularly if people have been bullied or are extremely shy and just don't get along very well with people around them, and so they need to be encouraged to come into therapy and to know that there's a way you can feel understood, particularly by not your family, because your family is too much of a source of conflict, but encourage those young people to take part of, if you can, in something that can, where they can feel they can talk to somebody without a family member, because the family members are not going to be too objective sometimes. They're going to be subjective, and we all are raised by our own families and have often not that great experiences with them. So I was just talking to a pediatrician the other day. I was making a drawing of this young boy sitting next to his father on a white table cover, and so I gave it to him. I cut it out, gave it to him. He brought it home. His father wrote to me an email and showed me the picture of him holding the sketch up. But anyway, he was saying that there's so many parents that he works with who could use therapy, because we were talking about, I was talking about how many parents don't know what's inside them in terms of their own impulses to yell at their children, and if they could get into therapy before they have children, they have a great chance of knowing what's inside them, so that they don't let loose at the gate, rather than, and they don't, instead of thinking before action. Thinking is a trial action, so that's often, so it's good for people too. So he was very interested in that phenomena in terms of the parents that he works with who are going to have children, or have children. So Kate Spade, $4 billion she made in her, and she 4.4 billion or $2.4 billion. That was her net worth, or before net. But it's a tremendous amount of money, and what a fantastic contribution she made to so many people in terms of design and in terms of their feelings about themselves and what they wore. But it didn't matter how much money she had. She was lonely. She must have been, husband, I'm moving out, and the breakup of the family, the daughter. So she hung herself, didn't protect her. Marilyn Monroe, reason why I'm concerned about that is that there was an increase in suicide rates after 12% after she died. After she died, and I'm concerned about that, about happening to people who were young people who were very identified. Many people were, but particularly young people, with Kate Spade, and keeping up with her and the fashion. She was a tremendous figure, made such a contribution to our culture in many, many ways. And now I'm concerned about what's going to happen. So suicide, loneliness, shame, all related, interrelated. And so I hope this gives you some food for thought, not for panic, but also for urgency, because in this nation there's an urgency with so many children getting lost, in the shuffle of life, and being forced to be experiencing their parents in conflict and not having anywhere to go, and seeing that there's so much stress too in this society in terms of families having to meet so many needs and take care of so many things, like a mother working maybe part-time and having a full-time job at home, and then also so many other attending responsibilities, and so too for the fathers. So we're in a difficult time. It's not an easy one by any means of the imagination. That would be stretch of the imagination. So I'm going to sign off right now, and hope you find this helpful. And if you're alarmed, it's okay. It's good to be alarmed, And as I said, push the share button so other people can know about this too. That could save some lives. So thanks a lot, and I'll be with you soon. All right. Adios. Bye-bye.